First on the agenda, David Maurice, who has a high groundwater application. He's going to present for a recommendation to the zoning board. Just reminder, this is for a special use permit under the high groundwater section of our zoning ordinance.
Mary Lockhart here for the Maurices. David Maurice is here. Ken Lynch, his son-in-law, is here, and Dan Howard, the engineer, is here.
Mary, before you start, I'm going to qualify you as an expert in this. Got new faces here. So if you could just give us a 2-minute synopsis of your background.
Okay, I have a master's in architecture from MIT. I've been an architectural designer based here in Jamestown for 23 years. I've appeared before this board several times, not a lot, but several times over the course of 23 years. And I have been working in Jamestown for 22 years. I've appeared before this board on groundwater issues for a private summer project just a couple of years. I don't know if that suffices. I've appeared before someone in Newport, Cranston, Middletown, South Kingstown.
I'll make a motion to qualify Mary Lockhart as an expert witness. Second. Michael. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you. I'm pleased to be here to present this proposal for the renovation of 130 Frigate Street. I'm pleased for a lot of reasons. Some personal. One is that I think this is a wonderful family, and that Ken, who is here, and Tara are the middle of this multi-generational sandwich. And they're both nurses at Rhode Island Hospital. Ken is a nurse practitioner, and David and his wife Kathy, Tara's parents, are anxious to bring the family together to help Ken and Tara as their working couple raise their 2 children. And I think I'm happy to help in supporting that. I also think that David and Kathy have shown themselves to be good Jamestown citizens over the 18 years that they've lived in this neighborhood and in this house. When they bought this property on which that we're intending to renovate, they also bought, the original house was existing on a more typical Jamestown Shores lot. They also bought the lot next to them, and they combined them. And so, as a result of that, unlike a lot of people who have checkerboarded their lots, these folks combined them and created a lot of almost 22,000 square feet, which I guess if all of the Jamestown Shores had lots of 22,000 square feet, there probably wouldn't be a groundwater ordinance right now. So I think I admire that. And then also, I think more remarkably, when they did some renovations more than 10 years ago, when they added on their garage addition, David, who was a contractor, also installed a stormwater management system. Now, this was before the groundwater ordinance, but I think David, because of his background, was aware of the issues that have appeared at Park Avenue, and basically installed a system which is described in the narrative from American Engineering that is currently working as stormwater management. But more importantly, I think there are merits to this proposal, and I think the renovations that we're proposing. And I think it's an example of what to do when renovating in the groundwater district. There are the aesthetic and physical improvements that we're making to the building. We're making better bedrooms, safer bedrooms actually. A front porch, it's a welcome addition to Frigate Street. But in addition to that, they also have, they're improving their septic system. They have a perfectly good working septic system, but they're going to be installing a state-of-the-art septic system for the same number of bedrooms. The current system is for 4 bedrooms, the proposed system is for 4 bedrooms. They are actually, most significant, I think, is that they are reducing their footprint, their impervious footprint. First of all, we are removing 607 square feet of building and adding 480 square feet of a new family room with a net loss of 127 square feet. So I realize that that doesn't seem like a lot, but I'm not sure where in the Shores have we seen where anybody, including me, has made anything smaller. So I think that is a great improvement. We are reducing, in taking out the old and putting in the new, we are taking 130 linear feet of foundation wall and replacing it with 65 linear feet of foundation wall. And the new foundation wall will be built according to the standards of the groundwater ordinance. And lastly, they've agreed to replace more than 1,000 square feet of an impervious asphalt driveway and turn that into a gravel driveway. And so consequently, they're reducing the impervious coverage of their lot by more than 25%. The groundwater ordinance has a lot to say about new development and about increased development in the shores, but not so much to say about renovations. I think that this proposal is a model that you can use for future renovations, to present to people for renovations in the groundwater district, because these folks are reducing their runoff, their stormwater runoff, they're reducing their impervious coverage, they're improving the building, and I think they're allowing the family to be a family, and I think that's something that we should support. And as I said, Dave's here, Ken's here, and Dan Cobb, the engineer, is also here for any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Mary at this point before moving on?
I have one question, and it's partly because it's sort of something I'm not sure that I have clear in my mind how we deal with it in terms of our code, which is how you deal with overhang areas. And there are two overhang areas in the property. One of them is the shed, and one of them is the new porch. And the porch is clearly under the 120 feet. And this is a question actually for Wyatt as well.
I was interpreting the porch as being under the 120 square feet.
Right, but what I noticed is you didn't count the overhang in the shed as part of the impervious area, and I wondered what that calculation was for that piece, because on your, I couldn't tell from your drawing, but it looked like it was equal to the shed itself, the overhang.
I think it is, but I think that it's, yeah.
Which would make it over the 120 feet.
Over the
exemption.
Right.
So I guess my question is, that it sounds like that should have been added to the impervious calculation.
All right, but I think that square footage is not significant. I mean, well,
it's not huge, no, and it's not close either, which is, but I guess what I was wondering is, does Wyatt and Lisa, this came up before, and there was some suggestion that any number of 120-foot exemptions could be taken. And I wanted to know, how does that work? On a single property, are you allowed to take more than one 120-foot exemption? They're taking one.
That's the intent of the ordinance. No, I don't believe that's the intent.
They're taking one for the shed, but then they're also taking another for the house, and so.
Although we did hear an opinion one night from an attorney for the applicant. That did not explicitly say that, so I'm telling you it was not the intent of the ordinance. I think I said it that evening as well.
Okay.
But you read it differently.
Yeah, no. That's why I brought it up, because I wanted to know how we should be looking at this.
Well, I think also what I'll do is I'll make a note and discuss the matter with Mr. Brown, because I have not yet received a formal comment from him on his interpretation of this provision.
Oh, right, okay.
So what I'll do is I'll follow up with him prior to this matter being heard at the zoning board, and so I can understand his interpretation. Because I know there is some, I think, confusion in how the town has applied this provision from a historical perspective. So we should have it clarified before the commission.
Okay. So then Mary can respond to that, either leave them both in or take one out. But I think in any case, the one is too large for the 120.
I think the shed may be too large for the
Yes,
house.
the porch is fine. So.
But I think still what my clients have done in terms of being willing to remove their driveway by reducing the footprint of the house, I think is just remarkable. And I think, like I said, a great example to use.
Yeah. And just simplifying the house, I think is going to be, I looked at